Back on the record, this begins disc number 2 in the deposition of Bradley Cooper. The deposition is being held at Barrington Smith, Raleigh, North Carolina on October 2nd, 2008. The time is 12:32 p.m.
Mr. Cooper, where were you and Scott Hyder when you discussed your sexual relationship with his former wife?
I believe it was at his house, at his residence.
And when would that have been?
Probably in the last month or so.
What did you say?
I believe the essence of the conversation was that it was bad that it happened, and I apologize for that for it happening, and it was something to that effect.
Who initiated the conversation?
It kind of came up, given the fact that Heather is currently being sued for alienation of affection, and that's kind of how the conversation rolled into.
Who initiated the conversation?
Scott initiated that conversation.
What did he say?
He just discussed that Heather was currently in litigation regarding her lawsuit of alienation of affection.
And what did you say?
I was unaware that she was still dealing with that.
Had you previously known that she was dealing with that?
Nancy had informed me of it last year.
When did Nancy become aware of your relationship with Heather Mature?
It was probably 2 years ago.
How did she learn about it?
Heather Mature told her about it.
Did you initially deny the relationship?
Yes. I initially denied it for approximately 1 year.
Why?
I thought that if I told her about it, it would ruin our family and our kids would be affected. I thought that if by denying it, it would go away and we could remain as a whole family. That was my reason for denying it.
How did she learn about it?
She learned about it via Heather Mature.
And how did she react when she learned about it?
She was upset, shocked.
What'd she do?
She called me at the office.
And
we talked, and I came home immediately.
And then what happened?
We discussed it. I denied it. That was the essence of the conversation.
At what point did you admit that you had had an affair with Heather Mature?
I guess it would be late last year, early this year.
Was that after the lawsuit was filed?
Lawsuit would...
Against Heather Mature?
Yes.
Do you know if your name was referenced in the pleadings of that lawsuit?
I'm not aware of that lawsuit at all. I've not been notified of it. I'm not aware of it.
Why did you decide to acknowledge the affair?
From the books I had read, some of the research I had done, it said that if you want your marriage to get over the affair, you've got to come clean and tell the truth and be able to rebuild that trust.
What books had you read?
I had read one by Dr. Phil, Relationship Rescue.
What else?
I read a few other ones, but at the bookstore I didn't actually purchase them.
How did you come clean, so to speak?
I told Nancy that it happened, that it only happened once, and as soon as it did happen, I immediately contacted Heather telling her it was a mistake and that it would never happen again.
Where were you when you told Nancy that?
I believe we were at home downstairs.
Was anyone else present during that conversation?
No.
Did you have a discussion about Heather Mature in your marriage counseling session?
We discussed Heather, yes.
And that was that before or after you had confessed?
It was after.
And what was the nature of the discussion in the counseling session?
Again, that's privilege, but I'm going to instruct the client to answer it, but the objection should be noted for the record.
So,
Tell me what was said and who said it.
So the marriage counselor, it was our first joint session. Marriage counselor asked us, why we were there, and we discussed our issues. And the biggest one was the incident with Heather Mature. And I told the marriage counselor about it, that it happened once, but Nancy and I were having issues rebuilding the trust after that.
What did Nancy say?
Nancy was upset that it happened, with one of her friends.
Did you and Nancy ever return together to the counselor?
For a joint session, no.
Why not?
From my understanding, Nancy had an individual session with Maria the following week, and in that session, Nancy indicated that she no longer wanted to attend marriage counseling.
Was your individual session after Nancy's session?
Yes.
What took place in that session between you and, is it Dr. Arthur?
Again, there's an objection, but for the record, but go ahead and answer it.
So in that session, Maria gave me a book to recommend to Nancy to read. She also made the same recommendation at the first session.
What was the book?
She wrote it down on a business card and gave it to us, but I don't have the business card any longer.
Did you read the book?
It was the book was for Nancy, actually. It was basically written towards of how to get over having an affair, and that was kind of the idea of the book.
Was that all you talked about in the last session with her?
No, we also talked about best interests of the girls and what we need to do to make sure the girls' interests were well taken care of.
Who initiated that?
Objection to the form, could you ask?
Well,
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Who, when you say we talked about the best interests of the girls, tell me what you said to the counselor about that.
And again, for the record, this line of questioning, I have a standing objection, but I'm instructing him to answer it. I just don't want to have to ask every time.
So, as far as I know, it's I brought it up because I was worried about the effects of the kids with Nancy and I separating.
You brought it up to the counselor?
Yes.
Is that counselor have any expertise in child psychology?
I don't know. That when I did the research for her, it was more marriage counseling. It wasn't child psychologist.
Did you ever see a child psychologist?
Prior to Nancy's death?
Yeah.
No. We had talked with Carrie Dittner, which is a family friend, which is a child psychologist, but we didn't officially have a session with anyone.
Who had talked with Carrie Dittner?
Nancy had talked with Carrie Dittner.
Well, had you?
I had not, no. Nancy had given me the information that Carrie had passed on to her.
What did Nancy tell you that Carrie had passed on to her?
Basically, for kids dealing with divorce and the separation of parents, the kids deal or handle it the best when they have significant contact with both parents.
Nancy told you that Carrie said that?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the same, and I went online and did research, and that's the same information that I had come across.
What websites did you visit in your research?
I don't remember the exact websites. I just kind of was doing searches on child separation or separation and the effects on children.
What computer did you use when you were doing those searches?
It was probably my laptop,
Which laptop?
the IBM laptop.
Is that the Cisco laptop?
Yes.
Okay. Would you have done those searches in the office or at home?
Probably both, actually.
Okay. Do you use your computer at the office for personal use?
Occasionally.
In the office or at home?
Both. Mostly at work. That's primarily what the computer is used for.
Well, maybe I misunderstood, but I guess my question is, for when you have personal use on your work laptop, does that occur in your office or in your residence?
I would say both.
Okay. Does Cisco have any kind of policy about using your computer for personal use?
I'm sure it does.
Do you know what the policy is?
I'm sure it says no personal software on there or something to that effect.
What other kinds of, give me examples of personal uses that you might use for your work computer?
Filing taxes. I did all my taxes using that computer.
Anything else?
Probably surfing the web.
For what?
Anything from just doing searches for restaurants to whatever, I guess.
Any other websites that you visited on your work computer that would be personal?
I'm trying to think. The weather website, CNN News.
Have you ever considered taking your own life?
No.
Have you ever told anybody that you had considered
No.
taking your own life? Did you have a car wreck, I guess when you were maybe in high school or college?
I had an accident post-college.
Was it a serious accident?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Have you ever suffered any depression?
No.
Have you ever visited any websites relating to suicide?
When Nancy and I talked about separation, when I was doing research on dads in custody, there was websites that referred to the high rate of suicide with fathers losing custody of their children.
Did you visit those sites?
Yes.
How many times?
It was more of an article that I was reading. I'm not too sure. It was multiple times.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that answer.
I'm not too sure I visited the site more than once, I guess is my point.
Okay. Did you ever print off any materials from that site?
I don't believe I printed off any materials, no.
Did you ever make a handwritten checklist, which might imply that you were thinking about taking your life?
No.
Did you ever make a handwritten checklist in early 2008?
Excuse me. About what, Alice?
Well, I think he can answer that question. And then
I guess I made lots of checklists for work, as a to-do list.
What's Katie's favorite food?
Katie's a pretty good eater. She eats almost anything.
What's her favorite food?
I wouldn't say Katie's got a favorite food. She's a very good eater. Bella's very more specific in what she wants.
What's Bella's favorite food?
Chicken nuggets and French fries and ketchup. Lots of ketchup.
What's her favorite color?
Yellow.
What's Katie's favorite color?
I wouldn't say Katie is able to communicate with a favorite color right now. She hasn't.
Does she know her colors yet?
No.
Did you ever make a checklist that included their favorite foods and favorite colors
Yes.
in early 2008? Tell
Yes,
me what was on that checklist.
I was making a checklist of stories to put onto a DVD and make a kind of a yearly summary of the Cooper family. And so I was making a checklist of things to talk about on that DVD with the girls. I thought it'd be a good, basically have a good memories DVD. And so one of the things on the Macintosh laptop is a program called iDVD or iMovie, where you can put movies together and make a kind of a nice professional movie. And Belle and I and Katie had done a few. We talked about how Bella and Katie were named. I think we even did one of Bella's favorite color. I think I talked about Katie's mohawk hair that she had for the first 8 months of her life that we couldn't get down.
Any other items on the checklist?
We also had stuff, or I also had stuff in there, what to do regarding separation. So basically to list out what bank accounts we had, what 401k accounts we had, credit cards, update our life insurance, update our wills, that sort of thing.
And that was all on the same checklist?
I don't remember, but those are some of the checklists I was making at the time.
Okay. Do you have any life insurance policies?
I do.
Tell me who those policies are with.
We have one through Cisco Systems. I'm not too sure who our carrier is, AIG or something. I don't know. It's
They're not going to get any money from that.
Is that a policy on your life?
it's a policy. So through Cisco Systems, I've got a policy on my life, Nancy's, as well as the kids.
And what's the death benefit on your life?
On mine, it's the maximum. It's, I think, 7 times my salary.
What's your salary?
So I think right now it's 7 times 122 is, or 115, or I can't remember how they work it out, your salary, given the bonus and everything else, but it's over 700,000, I'd say.
Who are the beneficiaries of that policy?
The first beneficiary was Nancy Cooper. The second is Isabella.
Is Katie a beneficiary?
She was, and I had set that up before Katie was born, and I haven't modified it since.
And you indicated that Cisco had life insurance on Nancy's life. Is that correct?
I put the default on for Nancy as well as the children.
And what was the death benefit for Nancy's life?
$75,000.
And has that been paid?
It is not.
And why not?
Given the circumstances and everything else, I just didn't think it was appropriate to Nancy right now to do that.
Well, who are the beneficiaries for that policy?
Of that policy, I believe it's myself.
And have you spoken to anybody at Cisco about the policy?
No.
Any other life insurance policies on Nancy's life?
No.
Any other life insurance policies on your life?
I have one through Ameriprise that Nancy and I took it out in, I believe, 2005 or so.
Is it a term or a whole?
I think it's a value package or something till 99 or something. I don't
What's the
remember.
death benefit on that?
500,000.
Who are the beneficiaries?
Nancy.
Any other life insurance policies?
That's it.
Do you have life insurance policies on your children's life?
Yes, as I indicated through Cisco, I took the default, which is 25,000.
When you say you took the default, what does that mean?
When we subscribe to our benefits, that's it's kind of a checkbox you just check off.
When did you subscribe to your benefits?
We subscribe every year in November is the subscription period, I guess, but all the life insurance and everything else has been set up since I joined Cisco.
So have you always checked the default for the 3 of them?
Yes.
Do you have a will?
Currently, I do not have a will.
Have you ever had a will?
No.
Did Nancy have a will?
As far as I know, no, she did not. We talked about it, but we never had one.
When did you talk about it?
I discussed it with her in February, April, March timeframe of this year.
What gave rise to your discussions during that time?
It was during the discussion when we were talking about separation, so I guess it'd be February, March timeframe. And I said that we really need to figure out what happens with each other and with the kids. Given that we're separating now, we probably need to have something in our wills about that.
And what did she say?
She agreed, but she really didn't take an active role in it.
Did you ever, without telling me what you said, did you ever consult with any attorney about drafting a will?
Through Cisco, I found out afterwards, probably April timeframe, May timeframe, that Cisco provides a lawyer to draft a will for you.
How did you find that out?
It was an email that was sent out to most of the Cisco campus.
Have you made contact with that person?
I requested the contact information, but I never contacted the lawyer.
And did you inform Nancy of that?
I did inform Nancy that Cisco provided free legal service for that.
You did or did not?
I did.
To your knowledge, did Nancy contact that person?
To my knowledge, no.
To your knowledge, did Nancy contact any other attorney regarding drafting a will?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Where did Bella go to preschool when she was in Cary?
Triangle Academy Preschool.
For how long was she there?
She has been attending 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
During what year?
This would be her second year. She's attended 2 years now.
So it would have been 2007 and 2008, and then 2006 and 2007?
I believe so, that's right, yes.
Did she attend 3 days a week both years?
As far as I remember, yes.
Who were her teachers for the first year?
I believe the first year was Miss Tracy. And the last year was... I forget the last year's teacher's name.
Did you take Bella to preschool in 2006, 2007?
Nancy and I both took her.
I'm asking about you.
Did I take her? Yes.
Yes. Like, how frequently did you take her to preschool?
It's an estimate. It's a guess. I'd probably say once every 2 weeks. Maybe. Really depended on if Bella wanted me to take her. Some days she'd say, "I want to go with Daddy." So on those days, I took Bella to school.
Did you have contact with her teacher in 2007?
As far as yes,
2006,
yeah,
2007.
we did. Parent days and stuff like that. Yes.
Tell me about parent days. What is that?
Sometimes the kid would put on a show, a skit or a song.
At school?
Yes.
Did you and Nancy ever have an incident at the school in May of 2008?
No.
Do you recall having an argument with her in the parking lot of the school?
No.
Do you recall at any time arguing with Nancy in the parking lot of that school?
No.
Where was Katie in preschool, or did she go to preschool?
She started going to preschool this summer. We had her registered for 3 weeks.
This summer?
This summer, yes.
What time frame?
We had her scheduled for, I believe, 2 weeks in June or July, and then 1 week in August.
Did she ever attend preschool?
She attended the 2 weeks prior to Nancy's death, yes.
Where was that preschool?
That was the Triangle Academy Preschool.
Who was her teacher?
I believe it was Miss Tracy again, the 2-year-old teacher.
And who took her to school?
Again, it was during those times, those 2 weeks. I think Nancy took her most days.
Okay. Did you have any contact with the teachers during that time?
During the 2 weeks, I'm not too sure if I visited the teachers during those 2 week time frame.
Okay. Was Nancy a good wife?
I would say so, yes.
Why was she a good wife?
She was supportive of myself and of the children, and very loving and generous.
Was she a good mother?
I would say she was a great mother.
Did she have any weaknesses?
I'd say that she spent more than we had, which is unfortunate, and she drank a little bit more than I would have wanted to.
Let me ask you some questions about the spending. Do you think that Nancy had a spending problem?
I think she spent more than what we could afford.
When did that begin?
I would say that's a trait that she's always enjoyed.
Throughout the marriage?
At least throughout the marriage, yes. Yes.
What did you do about that?
As best as I could, I tried to, where possible, I tried to indulge her requests. And when impossible, I had to say no, that we couldn't afford something.
Did you ever put her on an allowance?
We've tried throughout the years to work out some sort of arrangement. We tried a few different times to try to spend within our means. at the end of February this year, our account went into overdraft again, and we had nothing left to. We had to be financially responsible. We have 2 children that need to have college educations, and so I said, this is how much our paychecks are. Here's our monthly bills. Here's what we have left over. We have to spend with what's left over, not anymore. So at the time, we basically put her on a cash budget.
When was that?
That was approximately end of February 26th, 27th.
Would that have been a weekly or monthly budget?
She was given cash every week,
How much cash?
at least $300.
What day of the week?
Initially, it started off as Mondays, and then migrated to Sundays, Saturdays, and eventually settled on Fridays.
Why the change?
She initially, when it was on Mondays, she would spend the money before the weekend, and then she wouldn't have sufficient money to go out with her girlfriends, shopping, eating, going for wine, that sort of thing. And so she wanted money on Sundays, Saturdays, and eventually Fridays.
Who determined when the allowance was paid?
Nancy and I talked about it. I asked her whatever day of the week she wanted, and initially it was Monday.
Who determined the amount of the allowance?
Basically, it was a discussion between Nancy and myself, and I explained to her the monthly income we had and the monthly expenditures we had, and I said, this is all we can afford. Take at least 80% of the money we had left over, which worked out to be about $1,200 a month.
And do you contribute to any retirement plans at Cisco?
Yes, we have a 401k plan at work.
How much do you contribute?
I think.
Let me ask
I'll
you
let
this
you finish.
first. How often do you get paid?
Every 2 weeks.
26 pay periods or 24?
26.
How much do you contribute per pay period to your 401k?
I believe right now it's 4%.
Is that the max that you can contribute, or do you know?
No, it's either I contribute right now. It's either 3.5% or 4%. I can't remember the exact number, but it's about that.
Have you changed the amount of the contributions at any time within the last year?
Within the last year, I don't believe so.